Let us talk about human consciousness, that mysterious power we have and we don't use it, especially nowadays. And that's the only hope for human to prosper on this planet. We are experiencing what's happening today. It's very sad. Loss of life by thousands in the Middle East, in Ukraine, let alone the problem that we create ourselves, like climate change and more, high-tech crimes, cyber attacks. Human consciousness is part of us. Actually, it's what makes us human. So let us focus on concentrating on this matter for a short while right now. We think we are conscious. We are not. The reason is that we tend to take an easier way in everything and something which is simpler. That's not bad in general, but not when we should think. Let me tell you why I speak about that. Maybe you want to know who am I and why I speak about that. It comes from my experience, day-to-day experience in law practice, especially criminal law. I have been doing generally law practice as well as teaching and studying, so up to almost 60 years now. And now still I'm doing at the age of 88. But this comes from my experience something like 30 years ago in Ottawa courthouse. On that day, the judge discharged my client of his charge, of his conviction. Actually, he was found guilty. And not only discharged him, but said, you have no criminal record, go and continue doing good job this time. That was very much unusual. The judge was thinking intuitively, not like in normal way. And I know what he was doing after I saw what happened. This man changed his life after this order. He was at one time just lost in this world, an idiot, a troublemaker. That was his job, causing trouble for people. He changed his life 180 degrees. He became a successful businessman, a dedicated individual to his family, and still he's doing very well in business. Very popular, actually. The research initially, as I started, showed me that it's not him who lost his essence and reduced himself to that level. More or less, we all have problems with this matter, but not as bad as that one, to get into trouble with law. But we, most of the time, are not conscious. That is not my made-up story or just an estimation or guess. It is exactly what the scientists are telling us, neuroscientists and psychologists. They found that by checking the neurons of our brain, they can't see the consciousness, it's invisible, but they check what type of effect it has on the neurons. They found that when we are conscious, they checked on people who are more conscious or creative. And they found that at that time that they're thinking to create something and they're fully conscious, there is a huge move in form of waves and also random contacts of neurons with each other. While in other time, which we do act on the basis of our pattern, our thought, our habit or impulsive response, there's only a little ripple. So that there's a sort of accurate account They say 5% of the time. Look at that. How critical is this issue? If we manage to be more conscious to a level higher and higher than 5%, how much accomplishment we will do, how much we get our selfhood of ourselves, not to copy, unknowingly copying things, unknowingly going to the same route that we're doing day to day, every day, same route, same pattern of thought, same habit, and same response that most of the time is coming only from sensory perception without being reviewed and examined. Think about it. You will find that is true. Quite often in 24 hours, we do work, act, show our feeling and respond on the same pattern that we have been doing every day. But we get to that one shortly. Now I can tell you that how much this is wrong, because the paradigm of our framework of work, which are based on certain facts, should change in every situation and everywhere. That is when we are fully human and conscious. And as a result of that tendency to go for easier way, we miss it. So basically what happens is that when we do not think deeper, critically and creatively, questioning things and not taking it as comes our way, and not to collect data, information, facts, everything as a bag inside our mindset without verifying one by one, examining them and going behind the surface and see what is behind that. We will fall into, if we don't do that, we fall into a sort of mechanical perception, sending the messages from our senses to brain, and brain responds based on instincts or based on what we have stored, but based on what normally the expectation of us are on that particular case, and no intervention of our mind. If you just pay attention to what you do 24 hours, you see all of us will have that pitfall we fall into it, and we do not use that mysterious energy. We go further and assume things as they are. We don't question them, which is exactly the opposite of what we should do as a human, to be a revealer of the truth, as Martin Heidegger said, to be the examiner of what is there, as Socrates said, and we go assume things. Millions of people saw the apple fall from the tree, but the only one, Isaac Newton, said, why it fall down. Every day, every single day, in everything that we do, there's similar assumptions we take without checking that this assumption is based on truth or not. We assume a lot of things. We also use stereotyping to make it easy. As I said, that's the nature of us. We're looking for the easier way. And when we miss the major events and huge opportunities we have in our lifetime, that we pay as a cost for being lazy, especially mental laziness, not physical laziness as much. Thinking, avoiding the hard thinking, that's the issue. Stereotyping is another. We use the titles and label to just identify people. Oh, this man is a plumber, so he's a great moneymaker, but he's not intellectual. That's the type of stereotype we make, that people who have certain job, the same with other people who have certain background, certain color of skin, certain religion or gender, and we just attribute to that group or that category of people certain things wrongly. And the worst thing is that we We do the same to ourselves unknowingly. We take our job, our profession, and get involved in that day to day, just absolutely busy with that one and never bother thinking of what's going on in the world, and forgetting that this is not our identity. The whole world is our business, and we are our identity, our mind as an examiner and revealer. That's the reality of life. Just think about it. We have come to this world not to be our job or a profession, not to be a dentist or a housewife or a carpenter or a politician. These are the titles we get for making a living, to, of course, contribute something to the society, and then as an exchange, make a living, get something to make a living. That's not the goal of life. We were born to explore. The assignment of our life is that one, to use this. See, whatever we have with us, by logic, it should have a purpose. Our sense of questioning that we had from the very first day, to say what is this world, who made us, and we started worshiping the tree or mountains. We had that, and we still have it, and that sense has a purpose. We always should be a person who try to find things. The whole world is for us to go and find it and explore things. They're full of opportunities to create new things for every single of us. And that it doesn't matter what we do. George Orwell was a dishwasher, a waiter in Paris. That was his job. If he had considered that this is what he is for and this is his identity, he would remain and die with that job, because nobody knew him. But he, by his books, enlightened millions of people. Millions of people became more intellectual by reading these books. René Descartes, a mercenary, a person who picked up the gun to help the sort of army or something, a group in their goal. That was his job at one time. But he didn't recognize, didn't identify himself by his job. He became a philosopher that changed the mind of even philosophers, and he created a school of thought. Je pense donc je suis. I think, therefore I am. That's what he said. Apart from this assuming wrongly and stereotyping, we have the ego. And that is the big block for consciousness. It is the one that tells us to go for immediate pleasure, for easygoing, for avoiding hard work, for immediate pleasure, and facing the consequences of that thoughtless pleasure that we will have, like alcohol or drug. 22% of Russians are suffering from alcohol. Similar, something less in US. Same with drugs and else. And we don't have to mention those things, this depressing news. That's as a result of this ego. Oh, ego we cannot get rid of it, but we have the mind, the ability to control it. It tells us to go for revenge, we can control it. It tells us to go for greed and jealousy. It tells us to go for immediate gratification, we can control it, but animals can't. And that comes from, again, thinking. And finally, it also will change us, our position in this world, from being an object to being a subject. An object that people judge and gives us value, people give us value. From that part, point when we are not conscious, that's what happens. We rely on what we get, and we want to see what people say, what society that is, what direction it is going, and we follow that one. Actually, we are sort of objects. But when we, from A to Z, whatever comes our way, we watch and control and check it. We are the author of what we have here. We are the author of what we talk and say and write. We are confident. We are self-confident and firm where we are and what we do. Even so firm that mishaps and setbacks, bad news and disaster will not shake us terribly. And more, we become the subject. We will be the one that see who should get value for its work, including our own. We give value to ourselves that because we stand on our own principles, we will be the one that determine what is right and wrong. That means actually we are the law ourselves. We are the one to find what is bad and good. Actually means we are the one that know what morality is, and nobody wants to tell us. This is not new. Thanks to Zakaria Razi, great Persian philosopher, 1,000 years ago, 1,100 years ago, said the same thing. So the difference between when we assume and when we not assume things as true and go for deeper thinking is like day and night. Now, one more thing we have to keep in mind, and that is the framework of our thought. Quite often we think, and we are thinking even deeper, we are analyzing, examining, but we use the same tools, the same paradigm, the same framework of our mind we use to have the same pattern. This is called paradigm. And there is a fundamental law of nature, which is change. And that means in changing everything, including our understanding, which we very rightly found as correct, but the paradigm has changed. Good example is what, again, back to Isaac Newton, thanks to him, of his physics. We found his Newtonian physics as a great achievement. Of course, we even created things on that basis, and it was fine. Today, we found that it was not at all enough, insufficient, incorrect at some point even. By now, quantum physics, everything is subject to change. So that's not a bad news at all. It's only been need us to open our mind, make our mind dynamic, not to fall into the trap of dogmatism. In other words, loving what we have learned, or what we have not necessarily learned, but just assumed as true, and very much loving it, keep it, and fight back even, or deny whatever is opposing us as a sort of threat to our understanding. That makes us dogmatic. And we lose the consciousness as well, because our consciousness is based on that old paradigm. Things are changing. Even now we are witnessing that change of the paradigm. They call it paradigm shift. The new move, revolution of technology, the artificial intelligence, which is spreading fast. That's not the bad news. We can use it again, a better tool for our consciousness, instead of feeling it as a threat and defending ourselves. There is another expression, they call it paradigm paralysis, that paradigm shift paralysis, that we actually will not make ourselves able to follow the change of paradigm and paradigm shift to go ahead. In other words, what as they call it, a sort of confirmation bias. We keep confirming what we believe and not giving in to, well, maybe I'm wrong, let's correct myself. That's the, and we're always checking what type of experience, what type of evidence we find to further support our position, which is we should do opposite, looking for what is opposing us, what idea is criticizing us. That's the opportunity that we correct ourselves and further grow. Thanks for watching. This is very short, like a tip of the iceberg of what are there about consciousness and other concepts related to, such as collective ego, comfort zone, and dimension of life, intellectual dimension of life, and many other issues, especially the consumer society, the commercialized type of culture we have, which is very different, and we have to protect ourselves against it. It is just promoting not thinking. As one writer said, this culture is, if we don't protect ourselves and give in, it tries to make us lazier, fatter, and dumber. Again, thanks for watching. If you like this dialogue to go on, this discussion, please show it and join with other episodes of this talk with your great intellectual contribution. Thank you again.